Welcome everyone to the Wisdom in Times of Crisis online event, where we are exploring and reflecting the challenges and opportunities of this unique time that is offering us. My name is Brigitte Grof, and I'm delighted to be in conversation with my beloved husband, Stanislav Grof. And I'm not sure I have to introduce him at all because you probably all know him. But for those who don't, he is an amazing psychiatrist and consciousness researcher with over 60 years of experience in working with holotropic states of consciousness and researching them. And he has made incredible discoveries like the perinatal level of the psyche and the transpersonal spiritual realms of the psyche. And he has gained his knowledge by his own inner travels and experiences, and also by working with thousands of people around the world during his life. So it's an honor and a pleasure to be with you here today.
No, thank you. I should say something about you, that we have been happily married now 4 years. And but I have known you for more 30 years.
Yes.
And you actually came. We got to know each other at Esalen. You went there for a year, and you were actually learning holotropic breathwork a long time before we actually had a formal training. And then you traveled in Europe, and very frequently I came, and we were doing seminars and workshops. So you know each very, very well. So I should say also that I had a stroke, and so what I've been talking about
2 years ago, yeah, about 2 years ago.
Yeah, I'm afraid it's going to be a bad copy of my old self, but I'm very happy that you are here, and we can I'm sure we can work it out together.
Yes, yes, I'm sure.
It has been better still, time.
Yeah, it's getting better, so.
Yeah, at the beginning I didn't know what cars were.
Yeah. Well, but the good news is that you're mentally all very clear, and also physically there is no handicap, no paralyzation, but it was just the speech center affected.
Speech center, that was major. Yeah.
But it's gotten much better, but it's not as easy as it was. So we're doing this together.
At the time also struggling, with several languages that I have,
yes.
and I know which I use. So
Anyway, so, all right, so we have a couple of questions we want to discuss. The first one is, obviously now we're having this crisis, this pandemic with the virus. And so what have you discovered so far about yourself and about the world throughout this crisis? Did you get any insights?
Well, you mentioned that I have been working now over 60 years for what I call the holotropic states of consciousness, which is a subgroup of very, very important non-ordinary states of consciousness that have special community. They have potential of healing, of therapeutic effect, of transformative effect, of, I believe, evolutionary effect, and also heuristic, which means when we work with these states, we can some amazing things. It actually are breaking paradigm. And so I worked with these states, and one of the important things that happened in these sessions, whether they were psychedelic sessions, whether they were holotropic sessions, or we also work with spiritual emergency. So one of the major experience was that they experienced the oneness of the universe. We see everything in separate pieces, and there is an experience of oneness with the universe. It's oneness with nature, with oneness with humanity, and they're also aware of the fact that we are not just spiritual beings, but we are also biological creatures, which means, you know, the most important thing that has to be that we can be able to have clear air, clear soil in which we work, and the you know, water here and the soil.
Well, I think in this crisis it became clear that this is not stopping at borders. I mean, it's everywhere. We are all one in this, right? In this pandemic.
Yes, we have seen actually the oneness of universe, the way it was experienced by astronauts when they were watching from the moon, and they see no lines, no separates, you know, no boundaries that people kill each other. So, for example, Fuller talk about the Earth, you know, being spaceship.
Yes.
And Mickey Lemley wrote a wonderful movie which was called The Other Side of the Moon. You know, which were, I think, about up to 20 astronauts who were seeing the Earth from the moon, and they came back all mystics. The same Edgar Mitchell, you know, who experience on the moon, then some experiments with actually with parapsychology, and came back. And he used this reputation that were carrying around the world, give lectures, and he created the Noetic Institute in San Francisco, where actually people are trying to open up somehow new ways of consciousness, you know, opening consciousness, bringing consciousness into the world. So it's an amazing situation. So, you know, we have known in some way that there was oneness here. For example, when we had some nuclear problems, you know, with exposures, the experiments, or when there were accidents and so on. Suddenly the radioactivity was all over the world. It does not sort of stay in the place where it doesn't stop
at the border.
The same, we know what's happening in Amazon, you know, the deforestation. You know, we get distorted, or damage the air in the whole planet. Now, what happened now, I think, with this epidemic or pandemic, what happened is that somehow the sense of the fact that we are oneness somehow was come to us with a major, you know, apocalyptic power.
Yes.
We just know now that we are not sort of, you know, in one country, and that we are going to defend against the others. So I believe that you know, when this is over, that actually we can now focus on non-ordinary states of consciousness, whether it's holotropic experiences or whether it's psychedelics. You know, we can really transform the world. So we cannot continue do it as we did. I mean, we can see what happened.
Yes.
So I think that's, for me, is a major discovery, you know, in this pandemic. It's something that we already knew, but it just came, you know, in such a way that everybody can see it.
Yes.
We need to be global citizen, not be Americans or Czechs or Russians or you know, Chinese. I mean, we are just not going to make it very long.
Yes. So Stan, how has meeting death and grief actually shaped your life?
Okay, well, I was born in Czechoslovakia which is in the middle of Europe. And anybody who was hungry, you know, they just wanted to take it over. And this has been happening for a very long time, in the Middle Ages and so on. And now in my childhood, of course, we had Nazis with us for 6 years, taking over, which was very, very difficult time, as you can imagine. Actually, our family survived, but we lost many of my friends, particularly who were Jewish people. And they were taken to concentration camp and were killed and died. And that actually, at the end of the war, the last 4 days, from the 5th to the 9th, then we had a revolution in Prague, in the streets, where the Nazis were coming in. And we were fighting, you know, there were streets, barricades, like in French Revolution. The tanks were coming, you know, we were coming from the top, and we had a Molotov cocktail, you know, and stuff, and really fighting. People were, the Nazis were still coming and killing people. And so I see a lot of death, of course, in that time. And I have quite a difficult times in other situations. Like we had 3 years of freedom, and then we had a putsch, communist putsch, where Soviet Union take over Czechoslovakia.
Yes.
And so we have very difficult Stalinist time, you know. And I was actually been in prison for almost 6 months in that. But I very happily sort of get out of it. And this was like a few things that had actually happened in my life when things looked very, very difficult, but then somehow took care.
Took a turn. Took horn, yeah.
And I have been working for over 30 years with a wonderful friend and colleague, Rick Tarnas, who's actually make a preface for my book, The Way of the Psychonaut, and then also epilogue, which you have a small one in it too, as well. And so we looked at it and astrologically, and if you look at my chart, I have what is called, those of you who are interested in astrology, I have a T-square, which is I have on one side I have Moon and Saturn, and opposition is with Pluto and Jupiter, and the square is to Uranus.
Yes.
And so when this I have suddenly some kind of lucky escape, it's always when the Jupiter is kicking in. Yeah. Now I should say that I had the same chart when I was born, which is in the 1930s, a very pretty difficult situation, as you know, crisis and so on. And this is happening again, the same kind of
right now, in the sky.
Transits, And so I'm very curious and very happy if this repeats itself, if we have a sudden sort of happy turn. I can't at the moment see what happens unless we get the
vaccination or medicine.
So I'm happy that it happened like that, and I'm curious if it happens. You know.
Yeah, we hope. We really hope. Great.
So these are my story with death and life.
Thank you.
Yeah.
How has your perspective on death shifted during your life?
Okay, I would say that the relationship, between me and death is really closely related to my development of spirituality.
Okay.
When my parents were born, and for in a small town, Czech town, and when they fell in love and they wanted to get married, there was a major problem because the Catholic Church didn't want to marry them. My mother's parents were Catholic, and my father's parents, they had no religion.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And so they see them as a pagman.
Pagans or sinners.
As a pagan, as a pagan, and didn't want to marry them. And there was a major problem. It seemed like it wouldn't happen at all until my mother's parents resolved the whole problem actually by giving them major donation, and then they were willing to change their rules and marry their pagan, And my parents lived on a main street, right from the church, and so they able to make rugs across the street, right into the altar. And so that the guests can go across the street, stop of traffic blocked, and they could go from the altar right to the banquet in the house. And my parents were so upset that they didn't want any kind of to do with religion, and they say you have to change our own face, when we get older. And so we had classes of religion, and I was not there. I couldn't there. I had to walk around. Sometimes very excited because I could read, or somebody was playing football. But I was also very curious, and I wondered if they are doing something, that I'm not learning. So anyway, but this was the situation. Then from this kind of situation, I came into university, medicine, and this was happening during communism. So we had really purely materialistic
science.
And that doesn't certainly make sort of mystics out of it. It was very like see what we can do already, and if we work more, we can do it. And everything was understandable, and so I was basically atheist. And then when I started working with psychiatry, then we got a whole box if ampules
of LSD.
Ampules of LSD from Sandoz, from Switzerland, and I couldn't at that time, be working with LSD myself because I was a student. I was working at psychiatry in the fourth year of medicine, and they did not allow students to start it, unlike what Harvard allowed. Doing it with students, but I was doing what my was a docent, Dr. Yuri Rubicek. He was very interested in this, but he he did not have time to be there sitting with a patient or with, you know, with somebody who's interested, to be there for six
or more hours.
6 hours, yeah.
Yeah, it was long.
And so we're using us as gophers. So I see a lot of psychedelic sessions, you know, with psychiatrists, psychologists, with artists, the scholars of all kinds. And I was watching it, and I was just getting my taste all twisted, you know.
Yeah, appetite. You got the appetite.
To see these experiences, but I couldn't have it. So the first thing that I did, I asked for the session.
Yes.
Which I got, but our docent Robiček, he was very interested in EEG.
Yeah.
And not only that, he was very interested what is called the driving brains waves.
Brain waves.
Brain waves.
Yeah, driving.
Or
driving the brain waves.
Yeah.
Yeah, by stroboscope, yeah? That's what he was doing.
Which means that we had to, before, during and after, in the middle of the psychedelic experience, we had to be exposed to a powerful strobes, and he wanted to see if this changes somehow the brains in the
brain waves.
Brain waves in.
Yes.
So what happened when I had this experience, and I was in the middle, the assistant came and she said, you know, it's time to
put on
drive
the strobe,
drive the brain.
Drive the brain waves,
which I did. And the moment this turned on, you know, there was a light like I'd never seen in my life. At that time, I thought it was probably something like what happened in Hiroshima.
Like
today, I think it was more like the Ramakama, which is in the
Tibetan
books.
Tibetan books of the dead. Yeah.
I just, you know, lost my connection with the assistant, with Prague, with the clinic, with and the whole universe, and I just basically was completely destroyed. You know, I didn't know. There was not anything that I knew in my everyday life, but at the same time I have the feeling that I became nothing, but at the same I was everything there was. You know? And then as I was coming down from that, then I was like for a while in the universe, and there were all kinds of things happening. At that time I didn't have any names for it, but later I learned about in the 60s about the Big Bang and about then black holes and white holes and wormholes and so on. This was something in that category, you know.
Yes.
And then it came back, and there was again a problem, because I was in my consciousness, but it was floating around
your body,
body, you know, and I couldn't get those together somehow. And at that point, I understood that what they taught me in the university, that consciousness comes from the neurons in the brain. I thought it was just absurd. It was
absurd.
It was just not true. No way, you know, that consciousness was cosmic. You know, it was just part of existence. That cannot explain by anything else.
Great.
And so I came back, and I was very, very impressed. And I was by the time, you know, stuck already with psychology, which I didn't very like at that point, because it was
psychiatry.
You know, the time of insulin shocks and electric shocks, and at the same time there was actually lobotomy, which they got a Nobel Prize for psychiatry for
Yes.
the prefrontal Logeais. So,
well, that certainly has changed your perspective.
So then, that one day, that few hours there, you know, just very profoundly changed me, both professionally and personally.
Yes.
I came into it as an atheist, and I came back definitely as a spiritual person, you know, as a mystic. And then, as I was continuing working with psychedelics and so on, I had many sessions in which I had the experience of going to death, you know, being in a very convincing way. And when I came back, you know, I was surprised, because I thought it was already that it's going to end up in a different place.
Yes, yes.
But it seemed to be coming back to the place where I had my session. And I had particularly quite of the few experiences with a substance called ketamine or ketalar, which has some very special kind of affinity to the bardo kind of experience, between life and death and so on. So at this point, you know, I'm not sure exactly what happens, but I think it's very, very possible, you know, that there is a whole major realm.
Yes.
I'm still sort of open to the possibility that when I die finally, I already died, you know, during the stroke.
You felt you died in the stroke when you came back.
But when I came, and without coming back, it's going to be the last one. That it sort of came like the ends of the cartoons, you know. It's all folks.
That was it. That's all folks.
So that I sort of spent a life on doing it, and it just doesn't happen. I think that the universe is so complex and so interesting that it is possible. You know, well,
there's also like cosmic jokes around, so you never know. I mean, you can't really tell.
I think that's very likely it's going to be similar to what we have been experiencing in psychedelic sessions.
Anyway, so what role do you think our cultural death phobia has in this current crisis?
Well, you know, fear or anxiety in nature is a sign of that life is somehow threatened.
Yes,
the
biological
this some kind of injury. There is a diminution of the degradation of body somehow. So we see also in animals to have fear. You know, when you see a tiger or a lion, you know, going to a gazelle or to you know, or where is a mouse sort of getting to a cat. There's also the same kind of situation in people when you are in a war, you know, an attack. When there is a person coming to murder you and so on, you know, there is a fear. But there are also other ways, which is there's a possible of the imagining death or imagining death. So, for example, we can have phobias. We can have a fear of rape.
Yes.
You know, or some other kinds of fear. And that was for me like a major breakthrough when I was working with psychedelics. A completely new understanding of what's happening. That usually people think that we have a fear of death because we know that we'll die.
Yes.
You know, unlike we think that animals don't, that animals just happens, they just die.
Yeah.
But we know, and that is certainly not true. What you find with this kind of work with psychedelics is that a fear of death is a memory.
Yes.
Is a memory of it, you know. Yes. So during postnatal life, for example, many people have experiences that are at least near experiences, like near
death,
near drowning,
near
or
drowning.
or they have swallowed something and they're choking, or somebody is
choking them,
choking them, you know, or they have some kind of disease like diphtheria and so on. But then if you go further, then something that psychiatrists or medicine don't really believe, that we carry a powerful imprint of the trauma of birth.
Trauma, yes. Oh, yeah.
But that was a major discovery.
Yes.
Because people think, when I was studying medicine, they think that the newborn, does not have any consciousness, which is bizarre. But so that's very imprinted in our unconscious. Then even in the prenatal life, and then we have quite powerful experiences in psychedelic sessions, which are experiences that seem to be that are coming from a previous lifetime, the karmic kind of experiences.
Yes.
So when we have now fear of death, it's we are experiencing all the memories from our history, that spiritual and biological history. So
that was actually, for me, I have to say, sharing this in our journeys and so on has been one of the major discoveries. By
so that you can
it's a memory actually. That's amazing.
So you can lose fear of it by clearing somehow the traumas in the in the past, you know. Including the extreme would be what's called thanatophobia. People who are young and healthy, and they have tremendous fear of death. And if you use with psychedelics, they have the death rebirth experience. They actually have to go there and experience what the trauma was, but they can free themselves from that. So that was what we were doing, you know, with all the cancer patients that actually transformed their fear of death and even the dying itself.
Wow.
And it's, you know, for 40 years this was not allowed, of course, but now it's coming back, and all the experiences are now being confirmed.
That's great. Wonderful. Thank you.
Okay, well, you're welcome.
So Stan, when you had to change your work from working with psychedelics to working with holotropic breathwork, what did you discover there when you did that?
Well, I would say first I was upset. I was angry because, you know, in my understanding, psychedelics were by far the best thing that has ever happened to psychiatry in the whole history of history, you know, and people who were just really I would say idiots, you know. There was no reason also for that, and so they did it, and so what happened afterwards is that certain people, you know, psychiatrists and psychologists and so on, they just accept it. You know, we cannot do it; it's illegal.
Yes.
And they started just doing this old psychiatry. But most of them were really pretty upset because it was boring now as compared to what the new possibilities now that were there, and they were not able to do it, you know. And they felt that was very sorry. They were sorry for the patients also.
Yes.
What they were now being given rather than something that could make a difference. And There were other people who actually tried to make some alternative.
Yes.
And this was the holotropic breathwork.
That's how you developed the holotropic
yeah.
breathwork out of that necessity.
And I will back to that. But there was a third group that they sort of go around the law, you know. And they either find some loopholes or they just go underground, because they were so convinced that this was a good thing for people, and they would take it away from psychiatrists. So they did it. Now, we were those who tried to make an alternative, and we came with the holotropic breathwork. And I was actually very excited. Because before I thought, you know, psychedelics were such really exotic substances, and there's no way you can do something like you can do with them. And I was surprised how it was actually easy to get into these kind of experiences, to the point that actually there were people who were having them in the middle and the life.
Yeah, spontaneously.
And we create this concept of spiritual emergencies when these things happen spontaneously. But of course, this is a pathological phase because of the very narrow cartography that current psychiatry has, that they don't understand what is happening when they have death rebirth experience or when they have past life experiences and so on. They think it's psychotic. You know? We talk about this as experimental psychosis. We talk about psychotomemic. Anyway, psychotomemic.
I can't say that word better. Psychotomemic or something.
Hallucinologies and so on.
Hallucinogens.
So we were very excited that this was possible, you know, to do it without the substances, and that all these years when it was not possible officially, that people could have experiences of healing and they have experiences of spiritual mystical states. You know,
that's great.
We have spent 14 years in Esselen, where we were doing holotropic breathwork, and we're also going around the world. And many people have very similar kind of psychedelic experiences. Just with breathing.
Holotropic experiences.
Holotropic, just with music and music.
Breathing and music. Yeah, it's actually it's actually great, you know, because then you know it's not the substance, it's the experience, and it can be accessed by, it can happen spontaneously, it can be accessed by breathing or with medicines. So
actually people in their everyday life, some of them are so close to it that they have to fight to hold it back. And when they come to a situation where we know that we can sort of deal with it,
they just let it out.
They lie down and we do it kind of a preparation. We talk before they do the breathing, and they're already going. Because they know we can sort of support them.
Well,
for expenses you don't want to get in the middle of the airport, but if you have a situation where people know how to do it, they can really transform it.
Yes. Okay, thank you.
So I was sorry, but after what happened, something completely new, the fact that we can actually do it. And you know, if psychiatrists would say, well, I don't have to really be interested in, I don't have to know about psychedelics, those are kind of specialized, exotic explained and so on. I would say, well, you can be a good psychiatrist, but not a very good psychiatrist if you don't know what happens in your psyche when you get a little more faster breathing. You know, that's a whole change to psychiatry and psychology. You know.
Well, I think that the breath work attracts people who might be afraid of psychedelics or might not want to touch it. So they can. Well,
this is part of the training now that we are in the new training. We are also work with people who are going to be sitters,
who are
because
interested to learn.
Sitters
Well,
for
we
psychedelic
teach
sessions.
them the breath work, and so they learn about process. And if
Yeah.
there is a legal situation that allows the
Yeah,
research
yeah.
and work with psychedelics, they would be prepared for this.
But there are still
working with these
now
states.
people who are doing now psychedelics,
Right.
new legally. They don't get themselves experiences.
Yes. Yeah.
And this is impossible to work with
Yeah,
psychedelics without
yeah.
knowing what is it.
Yeah.
You're not a good good doctors. You say, I don't have to take the substances.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, no. It doesn't
but
work.
that's many of the
Yeah.
substances, but it's
Yeah. Mm.
not about psychedelics. If you don't know what it is, you have
No.
no
There's no
idea.
chance to work with this really
Yeah.
well. Yeah.
So hopefully they will have
Yeah.
allowed to have, if they work with psychedelics, do they have to know what it is? They can have the allowance to do it.
Yeah, their own
And
experiences.
until then, people can do holotropic breathwork
Yes.
as the close
As
to
a
that
training
we can do
for-
without substances. Yeah.
Right. So eventually, this is so nice right now, right? This is the psychedelic renaissance that's happening. So it's like a circle is
Yeah.
closing. It's coming back, and after a
well,
long time. Yeah.
I mean, and psychedelics will come earlier than psychedelic experiences because if we do them mostly in the group, and there's a lot of we work with body, and so this is like this about what is it, three different categories, but I think psychedelic breathwork will be the fourth.
Holotropic breathwork.
Holotropic breathwork will probably be next one, although they are now allowing to do massages and all kinds of things, but I think that's going to be more difficult to work with holotropic with groups.
Oh, you mean for the virus?
Because of the virus.
Oh yeah, that's really.
So I think that they comes probably
well,
later than
it's going to take a while until this is safe again.
Psychedelics
Yeah.
are mostly done in
Well,
individual sessions.
Well, if you have one-to-one situation, is much safer than
Which is
having a whole group. Yeah. of
which is
course.
my easier than to have what we have large groups.
Oh my gosh.
We had
Yes.
salons certainly like 30 easily, and
60.
the largest was 40 was 400 people
400
in
people.
Moscow.
Well, that's
people
not
with
something we should.
75 facilitators.
It's not going to happen soon.
They don't be allowed for a while.
No, that will take a while. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
So Stan, what would you like to share towards the end of our interview? If anything?
What I would like to say is that we just recently launched a new training, Grof Legacy Training.
Yes.
It's an international training, and it's about holotropic states of consciousness, holotropic breathwork, about people who are in spiritual emergency.
How to work with them.
Yeah, and also working with people who are dying. And I think we would like to people knew something about how to use astrology in holotropic states of consciousness.
And also to learn to prepare to become sitters for psychedelic sessions, if that's when it's legally possible, of course. I mean, not learning through the breath work how to later work with these states. Huh?
And maybe what I would also like to say is that I have had a new book, that's The Way of the Psychonaut, which is a celebration of the anniversary of Albert Hofmann. That's the 75th anniversary of
LSD.
discovery of LSD.
Yeah.
And these are books that would prepare people for their own non-ordinary states of consciousness, whether it's holotropic breathwork or psychedelic or spiritual emergencies and so on.
Well, it's an encyclopedia of all your life's knowledge that you
over
have
60
gathered
years
over
in
60
life,
years,
yeah,
and
yeah.
it's two volumes. It's 800 pages, so you can find your experiences in there. So it's really amazing. I think it's amazing.
We have some audio books also in the past, in the future.
Oh
yeah?
yes, it will. It will be an audiobook in the future. Yeah.
In the future.
Yes.
But you know, people could also read now because they have a lot of time that they spend at home, and many people don't know what to do.
Oh yeah.
So they were a way of preparing themselves for psychedelics, for holotropic breathwork.
Yes.
At home.
Yes. Yeah, and there has also been made a wonderful documentary about Stan's life and work, The Way of the Psychonaut, a movie by Susan Hess Logeais. Yeah, and you can, it has a website, it's called thewayofthepsychonaut.com, and there, if you go on watch, you can actually watch the movie. You can stream the movie once a month, and so on. There's more information. So.
Okay. Also, we have to say thanks for science and non-duality. For this program, but also for now years of doing amazing conferences in Italy and also in California, in San Jose. And they have amazing videos for it,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. They have a wonderful 4 beautiful videos with Stan. That were really nicely done.
Thank you for everything that you have done. You know, for changing consciousness in the world. And then, last but not least, I would like to thank my sweetheart here that she helped me do this
my pleasure.
interview. Yeah.
My pleasure. My honor and my pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
So thank you, everybody. Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Thank you. Bye bye.